The death penalty exists in 33 states of the United States of America. However, in recent years, a much smaller number has actually performed them. Executions are carried out by lethal injection. In certain cases, execution by firing squad is still permitted in Utah and Oklahoma. As a German, coming from a different historical background and being a guest in the United States, I respectfully disagree with the practice of capital punishment. In the middle of nowhere, outside of Livingston, Texas houses its death row inmates at Polunsky Unit. Almost 300 inmates await their execution at this maximum security facility. This is Blaine Milam. The prison system refers to him as number 999558. At the time of his conviction, he was the youngest inmate on Texas death row. He's 22 years old now.
Attention all officers, all stations, it is now count time, it is count time on the Pulaski unit.
You hear that very often, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Blaine Milam, thank you very much for talking to us. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So far, so good, I guess, today. First media visit. I ain't never had a media visit. And I love you, Mama. All right. But,
Do you have access to radio?
yes, sir. Yes,
Television?
Sir. No television. No kind of television, just newspapers. We can get newspapers, magazines, but currently, right now, I'm on F-pod, that's punishment pod. You can't have no radio. You can't have none of your property but paperback books and your mat and fan. That's about it.
But this punishment section means you must have had some altercation with guards. There must have been something wild out there. Can you describe what put you there?
Well, what put me there, this is my third time being there. I got busted with some wine back in July. Homemade hooch, and got busted with that back in July.
How do you make wine on death row? Can you tell me? I would like to know.
It's you just
confess.
Yeah, no.
How do you make wine on death row?
It's just fruit. All it is, and the liquid. Water, and it ferments, but it's not good. It's
how many days does it take to ferment?
About a week.
And you can get drunk.
Yeah, but it's not good for you. It ain't good. It tastes like chalk. It's nasty. It's you don't want none. It's not good. But I know my mom's not happy with me being back there, and it's not no fun back there either.
Blaine Milam grew up in trailer homes in rural Texas. His father, here in the background, pulled him out of 4th grade for homeschooling. As other kids of his age, he sees himself as a rock star.
Blaine Milam, famous drummer, singer, band has ever known. Help survive! Help survive! Help survive! Their country jive!
Shirley Milam, you're holding a photo. When was this taken?
It was taken Friday.
Just a few days ago?
Just a few days ago.
On death row?
On death row.
And your son?
Yeah, I went and visited my son.
How is he doing?
He's seems to be doing okay. Of course, you know, he was telling me about whenever they killed one of his people he knew, how long it took to kill him, because they were using some kind of a off-the-street stuff to kill him with. So it took like 48 minutes, and we both started crying because I think he told me that the guy that used to make it quit making it, so they just went and got whatever to use.
Are you afraid?
And then, yeah, I'm afraid. Because I know he's innocent. I think I'm afraid for all of them in there, actually. I don't even think they should have a death penalty.
Can you picture Blaine when you close your eyes? Do you see him in front of you?
Yeah, I can see him in front of me. And sometimes I cry all the way from Livingston to home, because I just feel so bad about having to leave him.
But you are here for your son.
Right. I am. I am.
And this site was all happy memories.
Yeah, it was. I wish I didn't have to had to sell it.
Now it's all empty.
Yeah. It's all empty. It's all gone.
Where was the house exactly?
That house where that house is sitting, it's up a little bit like that.
On December 2nd, 2008, police received an emergency call. A little girl was found dead inside this house that has since been torn down.
I was sitting right here at this desk where we are now, and I received a phone call from the lieutenant of the Rusk County Sheriff's Department CID division. And he told me that they had a dead baby, gave me the location, and he said, "You need to come out here." Texas Ranger Kenny Ray at that time had a sub office, if you will, here next door to mine. And Kenny happened to be here, so I immediately stuck my head in his door and told him, "Come on, go with me. We need to go out here. They've got a dead baby."
Did you see the victim? Did you see the crime scene indoors?
Yes, when we finally, after getting briefed on what took place or what the initial officers had found, we went in and saw what was described to us as the crime scene and saw the victim. And the Sheriff's Department was beginning to do the photography and measurement and so forth and so on.
Yeah, but you're describing it now technically, but you're a human being as well. How did it strike you, what you saw?
Very strange, very strange. You've got a small child lying dead on the floor, apparently a victim of some kind of brutality. I don't know a better word to describe it than just brutality. And you immediately, you ask yourself, well, what's happened here? What took place? You know, what or who could do something like this to a baby?
The crime was so horrific that the trial had to be moved to a different county in order to find an unbiased jury. Michael Jimerson prosecuted the case.
I was out there that day. I was trying another case, and I got a call from William, "You have to see this," to come out here. And I came out there, and Amora laying in that doorway was really the image of the case, because in my mind, what you're filled with, and that's why the question's so difficult, because the emotions change. What you're filled with is this desire to pick this baby up, which of course we can't do. We can't interfere with a crime scene. But the desire is to go run into Amora and pick her up. Now, when you actually see a picture of the horror that was inflicted on her, in my opinion, it repels a person. She's just had her humanity robbed from her, taken from her. And so she's just, it's just so graphic, the violence that was inflicted upon her, that you don't want to, but you just have to rail back for just a second. Whereas when you see her on in that dirty floor, in that doorway, you want to go running to her, you want to pick her up.
She liked your voice.
Yeah, she laughed a lot. Used to make funny noises for her, little duck noises. And she'd just start cracking up.
You made duck noises.
Mm-hmm. It's like old Donald Duck noises and stuff. You know, stuff like that. She'd just look at me and just start busting laughing. And a lot of times I've watched on TV, you know, these stories about, you know, children being murdered and stuff. And I think about her.
And you were her favorite horse.
Oh, yeah. And she loved getting on back of the big shoulders and, you know, just sitting back there rocking and rocking and rocking. And, you know, then sometimes, like I said, she fell. She pulled the shirt up next to the throat, and I couldn't breathe. You know, I was like, whoa, hold on. I had to go on the side, drop her off a little bit, and she'd get back up there and do it again.
She was a great little girl. She was beautiful. She was beautiful. Wasn't walking yet, but she was beautiful. Her first words were "Daddy."
And you were not even the biological father, but you were daddy for her.
Yes.
That was the first thing she ever said.
Yes, sir.
Can you still see her face when she said that?
Yes, sir. I miss her. There ain't nothing I can do.
And you loved her.
I did. I loved her and Jessica.
That was a joke. Look at Mom.
I mean, you don't know how it happened. They wouldn't let it into trial, but she thought she was possessed by a demon, in case you didn't know.
How is it possible that such an angelic little girl, a toddler, is being possessed by Satan, by demons? How do you know? How does it happen?
Jessica thought the cat was possessed by the demon. I don't know how it happens.
This is Jessica Carson, the mother of the little girl. Blaine was condemned to death, but she, in a separate trial, received a life sentence without parole.
Jessica and I walked down, not quite to the next curve in the road down there. She was telling me her story as to what they were doing, and then came back and found the child dead.
Did she already speak about an exorcism?
Not at that time. That came later. The exorcism did. She was telling that she and Blaine were going to move their future home in down here.
On purpose, investigators separated Blaine and Jessica. Texas Ranger Kenny Ray took Blaine into his patrol car for questioning.
Come on, sit down. It'd be warmer in here. Hey, Bub. Come on in, have a seat. I want to make sure that you understand I'm a Texas Ranger, okay? Mm-hmm. And I've got a tape recorder playing right now, but you're not under arrest. You understand that? Yes, I mean, you're sitting here in my car, and I'm talking because the tape can't see us. It can only hear us, okay? Yeah. But you don't have handcuffs on. No. I asked you to come over here and just sit down. We're just sitting and visiting. Is that right?
Right.
Now, what I want you to do, Blaine, is just in your own words, and I know this is hard, buddy, but I want you to just tell me what happened this morning.
I gave her a bottle. We were walking down to the property. We call it the property because it's where I'm having our new mobile home put.
Okay, you gave the baby a bottle?
Yes.
Okay.
It's in there on the bed.
All right, okay. Go ahead. And you and Jess walked down to the property?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we just started marking off the stuff, and about an hour flies by, and between that hour and a half, we walk down here, walk in the house,
Okay. Go
and
ahead.
she wasn't nowhere to be found.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm listening to you.
Alright, and then by that time, we're searching for her, and there's a hole in my mama's bathroom.
Okay.
Alright, that's where she was.
Jessica Carson, what sort of a young woman is she?
Whenever we first met, she
Yes.
was a great woman. She was very energetic. She always wanted to go out and do things. You know, things went downhill around August of 08, I guess. August of 08. Things.
And downhill means
She started changing. She started changing.
describe the changes.
Yeah. Well, very dark. She wasn't energetic anymore. She was just mean. She was rude. She didn't care about anything.
Jessica, as you know, whenever we first met and everything, she seemed like a very nice girl and everything. And after my husband died, it's like she just turned into a different person. But see, she lost her father too, you know, a while before Daniel passed away.
But that's where things spiraled down for
Yeah.
Jessica and for Blaine.
Yes, that's where
Is that
things,
correct? Yeah.
things spiraled down from there.
Spiraling down meant both of them apparently became delusional, caused by their belief in forces of demons and Blaine's use of methamphetamines. Jessica spoke to the ranger right after Blaine. These are excerpts of their conversation.
Hey, come sit down. You're Jess? My name's Kenny Ray. I'm with the Texas Rangers, okay? Will you talk to me for a few minutes? Okay. I'm gonna record what we say so I don't forget anything, okay? How old are you?
18.
Okay. All right, tell me, just start off. Tell me the story about what happened this morning.
Okay,
What from the?
we decided to go out to the property. So we walked down to the property, and we didn't plan on being there that long, but we just got and start talking details about everything, about the trailer and everything. And
Did Blaine resent you having the baby? Did that cause a problem in y'all's relationship?
no, he loved that little baby.
Why would he hurt her?
Huh?
Why would he hurt her?
He wouldn't.
Why would he lie to me then?
Huh?
Why would he lie to me? He told me you were an honor graduate in Longview High School. You're a
What?
very smart girl. Y'all were together this morning for about an hour or an hour and a half, and your stories do not match. One of you's lying to me, or both of you's lying. Right now is the time for you to tell me the truth about what. Let's get it out. That's the only way that this is ever going to be right, is for us to get it out. So right now, just tell me what happened.
I would never hurt that baby, and
Tell me what
I
happened.
wouldn't either.
Tell me what
He
happened.
loves that little baby.
But just tell me the truth about what happened. Let's get it so you can get it off your chest. Because it's just going to eat you up if you don't. It's just going to eat you up.
No,
Tell me what happened.
I could tell you, but you wouldn't believe me.
I will. I will believe you.
No, you won't.
I will believe you. I promise
If
you.
you do, none of the other cops won't. Because
I'll-
it's something that they would not believe.
I will believe you. I promise you, I will believe you.
But they won't. And they're going to think we're lying about it, and we're not. That's why we made up this story.
We were initially told that the crime had occurred in a, for lack of a better term, a front bedroom just off the living room there in the house. And they had even gone so far as to use some fake blood, if you will. And, you know, we're approaching Halloween time now. We're familiar with fake blood and all that, but they had...
So there was a staged crime
there
scene
was
with
a
fake?
staged crime scene. And we, for lack of a better term, fell for it. And that's where we concentrated our investigation and our efforts. As we went further into the investigation and brought these other people in, other investigators from these other agencies, they discovered the actual crime scene, which was in a back bedroom in another part of the house. They discovered blood traces in there. They discovered some other physical evidence in there, some clothing, and several different things that were later used in the actual trial as evidence.
Within hours, Jessica Carson and Blaine Milam were arrested. Forensic evidence was still being gathered. At the end, it was so overwhelming that it led to their convictions.
Well, I brought the closing argument, or part of the closing argument that I used in the Carson trial, because there's a moment in time that, to me, really captured what was occurring that moment of December 2nd, 2008. And I've got 4 photographs up here all together, and they're all one moment in time around 9 a.m. that morning, shortly after 9 a.m. At the crime scene, out in the carport, laying in the dirt out there in the filth, is the car seat, which I submit goes to show intent. Amora was never going to ride in that car seat anymore. It was taken out of the car and thrown in the dirt. In the pawn shop, he had some old tools. One of them was an old electric chainsaw that he was trying to pawn for money. Now, there's conflicting stories over why they were doing that, whether they were on the run or whether they were trying to get money for the alleged exorcism or things like that. But he's trying to pawn these tools, and Jessica Carson is with him, and at that very moment in time, Amora is laying in that filth and dirt on that floor out there.
Right after the transaction, both are seen casually browsing the shelf for DVDs, as if it were the most normal of days.
Kevin Roy, who was actually the deputy from the sheriff's department, he's in dispatch at the time the call comes in, the 911 call. One of the first things he does is he ends up picking Amora's foot up, and it basically lifts Amora all the way up across her back. She's just stiff. She's just solid stiff at that time. That's at 10:37 a.m. This is at 9:05. Now, by 9:05, she was probably already stiff. Scientists are real careful about when rigor sets in, and the medical examiner told us, though, and I'll show you in a minute in a timeline, that it was hours, not minutes. We don't know whether that's 4 hours or whether that's considerably more than 4 hours.
Only minutes after the pawn shop, another security camera caught them at a gas station. Jessica bought a soda and cigarettes. All this while her child was already dead for hours. It was not until they returned home that they called 911.
December 2, 2008, 16 hours, 48 minutes, 15 seconds.
Rescue 911.
Yes. My name's Blaine Milam, and my daughter, I just found her dead.
How old's your daughter?
13 months.
13 months old? Okay, let me connect you with the ambulance service, okay? Ma'am, we're going to try CPR anyway, okay? Get her to the phone now.
51 minutes, 26 seconds.
Get her! Blaine, get her, hurry!
Are you there?
Yes.
Y'all stalling is not helping her at all.
Go ahead.
If he's not going to do it, you put the phone down and go get that baby and get her to the phone.
All of this occurs in the early morning hours of December 2nd. How long this exorcism, or what I would refer to as a torture of Amora, went on before that, we don't know. But there are injuries to Amora's genitalia at some point in the early morning hours of December 2nd. Now, Dr. Pinkard, unlike CSI, he can't fix the time of those injuries, but it was his testimony that hours after that, and these are the injuries, it's my recollection, these were actually the injuries to the child's genitalia. Seems wrong to say about a baby. But those injuries to the vaginal vault I described to you, that phrase that in my opinion should never be used about a human being, those occur. There's some indication that there was healing. The body was able to formulate a response, and you'd have to talk to a scientist about how the body does it, but there are ways that they're able to determine from microscopic review of the tissue around the marks that her body, Amora was fighting to the end.
She supposedly was sitting in the living room watching TV while he's right inside the door there doing whatever to this child. And
in this other room with a staged crime scene.
The staged crime scene room, yes,
yes.
Sir. And, apparently he's telling her that, well, Amora, who's 13 months old, is striking herself with a hammer and doing all this stuff to herself. And so that obviously didn't fly very far.
Because the child suffered multiple fractures.
Multiple is being very generous with the estimation of how many fractures the child suffered. And a lot of them are what's called spiral fractures, which is the twisting of the bone, where the break, instead of going laterally or whatever, will go around the bone in a spiral shape. And then just,
And 18 ribs broken.
At least that many.
And skull fractures.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like I say, everybody that's looked at it just say it's horrible.
And you say that after 40 years of experience. You've seen a lot.
Oh yes, I've seen a lot. I'm a licensed mortician in Texas also, so if I'm not working here, I'm working at the local funeral home. So, I've seen death, natural, unnatural, but this one by far is the worst.
Kevin Roy gets on scene, and this is what I say about the human mind just shutting down. He looks and he sees Amora's body, and it's covered in what we later know are 24 bite marks, where you have the upper arch and the lower arch. Dr. Williams called them, it sounds odd to say, but some of the best impressions he'd ever seen, especially on skin, because skin's a poor medium for bite marks. And the other thing is Blaine Milam had a very unique bite. We called it the M series, where his teeth made an indenture that was very unusual. So in a closed population group, we were really able to say that that's him. Of course, we were also able to confirm 2 of the bites with DNA.
I think you get desensitized in what we do at times, whether it's being a correspondent who sees things in war, to an attorney or a police officer who sees bodies. You find ways to deal with it. But what I'll never forget the bite marks. From the toe to the chin to over the mouth and nose. It was almost as if someone was trying to, I guess, suck out demons from the nose and mouth, the way the bite mark or the mouth print was on the child. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
For me, there's a fascinating aspect about this whole thing. There's a Ouija board, which apparently indicated to both perpetrators that there was Satan that had to be exorcised.
And respectfully, I reject the premise. I submit the Ouija board didn't have anything to do with this. I submit that they may have played Ouija board. They may have Jessica seemed to have a fascination with horror movies. But I submit that was just one more excuse, and it was one more justification that the defense came up with to try to turn your mind off from the fact that they were just evil.
It all started with the Ouija board.
Can you describe how?
She thought that our apartment was possessed over there in Longview.
Jessica was the one who brought in the Ouija board.
Yes, sir. And whenever she wanted to move out, so that's when we went back to my mom's. My mom told her, "You ain't letting that in my house." But that's when everything started to change real bad.
How can you believe in a Ouija board?
Just after a while, I guess it gets in your head. And she started accusing her mother of killing her dad back in Alabama. And she even had us load up the car, and we went to Alabama on a wild goose chase over, but that's...
And how would you know that the little girl, Amora, was possessed?
Jessica says she was possessed. I don't know how you know.
And you would believe it, or you were under the same impression?
After a while, I guess, but I didn't kill that girl. I didn't kill my little girl.
Let's stay with a little girl being possessed by Satan, by the devil, by demons. What was it?
By a demon is what she said. By a demon.
The bizarre details of the demon possession came from Jessica Carson. Still in the car on the morning of the crime, the Texas Ranger elicits this astonishing story.
All right. Tell me what really happened, because this is the time to get it right. And speak up loud enough so I can hear it on the tape.
Let's see, when was it? It was about... It was in September. Blaine's dad died in September, early September. And right after he died, we bought an Ouija board.
Okay.
And we didn't know they were bad and it was an omen or anything like that. Like, we're very strong believers of God and everything. And we bought an Ouija board, and then, we heard that it worked, but we never actually did believe people when they said it would work. So we wanted to try it out for ourselves. And then, my dad's dead too. He died when I was 10.
I'm sorry.
And, so I asked my daddy that I thought, a question that he would know that nobody else would know. And I had never told Blaine that. And so when he spelled it out and everything, I was like, this is my daddy. And so we did that, and, this is like a telephone to heaven. And we thought it was really cool and everything. So we kept talking to our dads, telling them how much we missed them. And, and we talked to him for about 8 hours straight that night. And we started getting really freaked. And we got this little music box from one of his friends that's Chinese. And it has these Chinese people singing, God will protect us, demons leave this house, because they said our apartment was possessed because weird stuff started happening and everything. So we left, and we kept that music box there and blessed it, and then we blessed the Ouija board, and then we threw it away. And, kind of like The Exorcist, have you ever seen, when demons come into people or whatever. And the devil had came into Blaine, and you know, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I mean, I would not be making this stuff up.
I'm a Christian. I believe in demon possession.
Yeah, and I am too. And, you know, I kind of knew, I mean, I knew about demon possession, but, you know, you can't really believe something for sure until you see it with your own eyes. And so when the devil started coming in me, talking to me, saying, you know, I'm gonna take Blaine's soul tonight, you know, all this kind of stuff, it started really freaking me out. And, you know, now it's gotten into a more now. And then I said, okay, well, can't we, like, have an exorcism or something to get rid of it? But Blaine came back outside, and I said, what did you run in the house saying a more for? He said, God told me she got that hammer and was hitting herself in the head, and those marks on her head was, I think, from that hammer where she was hitting herself, or that demon was hitting herself on the head. I was like, you know, there's got to be something else we can do. I was like, we can get money, we can go to a minister and see if he can help, or go to find a priest somewhere and see if, you know, we can make payments on them doing exorcism or something. See if we can do just anything. There's got to be another way. And he said, God said it was too late. And I was like, what do you mean God said it was too late? And then he was crying while he was saying this and everything. He was like, because if she doesn't go to heaven now, she will live her life with Satan having her soul, you know?
Do you believe that a Ouija board can give indications like that?
Yes, I do. I've actually seen, and I've actually played with a Ouija board when I was younger, and I've seen bad things happen, and I ain't touched one since.
Explain the bad things.
Well, we did it at the job that I worked at. I worked at Whataburger, and a couple of my friends worked there with me, and they brought one there that night, and we played with it, and things started happening. Doors started opening, doors started, you know, shutting in the bathrooms and stuff. We could hear them. No one was in there. And, you know, just things like that, like there was a presence there after we had messed with the Ouija board. And I went to my car and I got my Bible and I started praying, and I told the Lord, I said, I will never mess with that again, and I haven't, and I won't. So it's a triangle thing. You know, it's got a flat here, and then it's triangle up here. And then it's got yes over here, no over here, and then it's got all the lettering and all the numbers. And you're actually supposed to place your hands on it with someone else's hands, and you're supposed to ask questions, and the spirit is actually supposed to move it. They're supposed to move that board. You're not supposed to move it. So that's how it actually is supposed to work.
But if you don't have your hands on it, it wouldn't move at all.
Right.
So it's somehow human interaction.
Right. Like through souls or spirits, I guess you could say.
And
Yeah.
the Ouija board ultimately led to an unspeakable catastrophe in this case.
In this case, it could have, yes.
In the film The Exorcist, how much influence was from that film?
Have you ever seen The Exorcist?
Unfortunately not. You've got to describe it for me.
Okay, The Exorcist is a very bad movie. I mean, it's bad. And it don't have nothing to do with the Ouija board in The Exorcist. But it has to do with this little girl that had gotten possessed. And this was actually a true story. The Exorcist itself is based on everybody in that movie. It happened to them people for real. The preacher that actually was trying to get the demon out of her, he actually really had a heart attack and died on the set. The real priest of it all. So that's the things that you see in that movie are things that really happened, because they were filming it as it happened. So it was very bad.
So the film, in fact, as you see it, had a real demon in it.
She had a real demon in her.
Demon. It was not just staged. It was not just directed.
There's no way that you can turn your head all the way around and not die from that. I mean, her body bent in half. I mean, there was some bad things going on in that movie.
I submit that there's just evil in the world, and this is true evil as opposed to blaming drugs or the Ouija board or the devil or anything like that.
There was a prior incident with Blaine, with a neighboring girl. Can you describe what happened there?
He broke into an 11-year-old girl's house, and it was an 11-year-old girl who had been homeschooled with. He broke in and he actually put some dirty pictures, I would say it's the wrong way to phrase it, pornographic material, very graphic pornographic material.
A magazine?
Yes, sir. With notations on it, with a Sharpie, meet me out back, we can do these kind of things. It was clearly a criminal solicitation of a minor, trying to encourage her to engage in sex acts with him, which is a felony offense. The defense made a lot of. He never actually touched her, and that's a fair point. He never actually touched her, but he was clearly trying to solicit her into sexual activity, and he had actually been convicted of that. And Jessica Carson had been present when he was convicted, and given his warnings and admonitions what he had to do as a sex offender. There was a mistake and an error because he was actually supposed to be in jail at the time of this offense.
One could only wish that Milam had been in jail. Amora's death may not have happened, and Blaine would not have ended up here on Texas death row.
Rick Hagan, what was your line of defense in Blaine Milam's case?
Well, the line of defense in Blaine's case was essentially that the mother of Amora was psychotic. And we think that that was partially a result of postpartum depression and perhaps other issues in her childhood. One, I think, was finding her father that had committed suicide quite a few years earlier. I think the part of the defense that we had was it was her psychosis combined with his use of methamphetamine that set the stage, more or less, for the events that occurred.
Does methamphetamine make you delusional?
It can. It can create a psychosis, especially with heavy use of it, and that was my understanding. We had a couple of doctors that testified. There was a pretty substantial amount of methamphetamine in Blaine's system after he was detained, immediately after this incident.
Indicating a long-term use of it?
Mm-hmm. And he provided
that.
us a history of long-term use of it as well. And I think the doctors that we had testifying certainly attest to the fact that someone that uses methamphetamine heavily can develop psychosis from it.
I think the line of defense was something that I called raised by wolves, or maybe the wolf had to raise himself. Blaine was pulled out of school when he was in the 4th grade when his daddy got real sick. And Blaine became not only his dad's best friend, or that was Blaine's best friend, but he had no life outside the situation of a dad who had had a stroke and couldn't communicate. So he and his father watched cartoons every day. He tried to provide for his father.
Do you see a possibility of clemency in his case?
We're in the state of Texas. Even if you're innocent, you don't get clemency here. Well, if you point out a case where the governor of the state of Texas has given clemency since he's been in office, I'd like to hear about it. But from my understanding, his innocence doesn't get you there, so I can't imagine why mental retardation is going to get you there with this state right now.
How serious is it? It's a major eye-opener. It's like, I never thought about death row before I got here. Honestly, I didn't know Texas had a death row. All right, that's how inconsiderate people are of the death penalty before you find out you're in a situation where you're facing it. And it's serious. They don't treat you nice back there.
One question kept nagging me during our conversation. Who is the devil?
How does the devil look like physically?
He looks like nothing. I can't answer that question.
But do you have some sort of an idea how the devil looks like?
guess like me or you, I guess. I don't know.
Which means that, ultimately speaking, you could be the devil.
Well, I guess so. If you look at it like that. Hold up.
Or is it just a principle of evil when you speak about the devil?
Well, I guess you could look at it like that too. All right. The principle of evil, like darkness, not good, the opposite of God. I guess you could look at it like that.
How does Satan appear?
In my eyes, I'm a Christian person. So I see the Lord. I don't see Satan. So in my eyes, Satan appears as, you know, he is the devil, and he appears in different forms.
Does he have horns?
Well, to some people, yeah. To me,
a tail?
Yeah, to me.
A hoof?
Well, to them, probably, yeah. To me, no. To me, he just appears as different stuff that makes you do stuff that you shouldn't do.
A principle of evil.
Right. But there's no way that a baby can be possessed. The Lord would not let that happen.
Human beings don't do that to other human beings. And we've got a right to defend our species from people like Blaine Milam. He does not define us. People don't do that to other people. He is outside of humanity, I submit. And we have every right as a people to denote that he is outside of humanity and to tell Blaine Milam, you don't define who we are. You don't have a say over who we are. We define who we are. And we are not capable of that sort of evil. And we are allowed to erase you from our existence. We are allowed to eliminate you from our race, from our species. We have every right to do that as thinking, rational human beings, and I submit we're endowed with those rights. We have every right to do that. There's nothing wrong or inappropriate with us doing that.
I respectfully disagree.
Yes, sir.
I disagree. Erasing and eliminating a human being does not sound right. In my opinion, no one is outside humanity. The crimes are monstrous, but the perpetrators are still human.
Do you prepare yourself for this worst-case scenario?
I do, yes, sir.
How do you do that?
I tell myself it's going to be okay no matter what. And I tell my mom that. And I need her to know that whatever happens, I'm going to be okay no matter what happens. So don't worry about me. Just keep on praying. That's all we can do. Let's pray. I mean, surely people think, how can you prepare yourself for something like this? Well, it's not easy, but you know that it might be coming, so you got to prepare yourself for it. And if it does happen, you know, walk out there with your head up. You know, it's all you can do.
You know, I can only speak from the experience of getting to know Blaine. And I spent a month with him and with the defense team prior to the trial. And I spent 3 months sitting right beside him in trial every day. It's the longest trial of my career. And what I saw was a child. I saw a child who wanted to talk about cartoons, who wanted to talk about childish things like my children do. This is not a devil. Children are not evil like this. That this was the act of someone who had an intelligence about him, and this wasn't Blaine.
And while the jury was out to sentence him to death, he watched with you what?
We watched cartoons. We watched Scooby-Doo cartoons, a cartoon from my childhood. And I remember sitting there queuing it up on the computer for him. And all I could think about was this kid has no idea what he's facing. He doesn't appreciate the gravity of the situation. Where anyone else would be shaking and trembling, praying for their life, Blaine wanted to finish the cartoon when they were knocking on the door with a verdict. And he leans over to me, and I'll never forget it, and he says, "Why do these people not like me? Why do they want to kill me?"
It's all happened so quick. you know.
So you do not understand it either?
I don't. I do not understand it.
And the death of the little girl, how much do you understand of that?
Why did it have to happen? Why did it happen? Why? So, I mean, I know we shouldn't ask why, but, you know, we want questions. Why did it have to happen? Why did it happen like this? Why couldn't it have been me, you know? Why couldn't, I mean, I don't understand it. It happened. I wish I could go back and stop her, but I can't. I don't know how I got so far. I don't understand how I got this far, but it did. And I don't know what to do. Don't know what to do.
If you enjoyed this documentary, head to SBS On Demand anytime for over 250 documentaries to keep you informed.